All right, so today we're diving into some pretty heavy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We're tackling Imperium,
Okay.
a 1948 book by Francis Parker Yockey,
Right.
writing under this pseudonym Ulick Varange.
Interesting.
And this isn't like, light beach reading. It's dense, it's controversial, and it really dives headfirst into this philosophy of history and politics.
I see.
But that's why we're here,
Right.
to break down these complex ideas
Yeah.
and see what we can glean from them.
For sure.
So,
Well, what's fascinating about Imperium is it kind of acts as a sequel
okay.
to Oswald Spengler's The Decline of the West.
Oh, wow.
Picks up where Spengler left off
Okay.
and argues that the 20th century is like witnessing the birth of a new Western Imperium.
It's like he's saying, hold my beer, Spengler.
Yeah.
I'm going to take this even further.
Exactly.
Wow, Yockey really throws out
It
at
does.
the typical way we look at history.
Yeah.
Instead of that straight line of progress,
Mm-hmm.
he says it's a cycle with these distinct high cultures, rising and falling.
Yeah.
He compares them to like living organisms,
Uh-huh.
each with its own lifespan.
I see. So, do you think that resonates at all?
I mean, it's a powerful image,
It is.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yockey identifies 8
he does.
of these high cultures: Egyptian, Indian, Chinese, classical, Magian, Mexican, Peruvian, and of course,
Western, of course. Yeah.
and he really meticulously compares the West to these past cultures,
He does.
drawing parallels, highlighting key differences.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got these 8 high cultures,
We do.
each like this unique character in this grand play of history.
It's a great way to think about it.
What makes them so special in Yockey's view?
Well, each high culture, according to Yockey,
Yeah.
is driven by this unique cultural idea, which is like a kind of spiritual essence that shapes its worldview, its values, its destiny.
I see.
And he examines how these ideas play out in art,
Like-
politics, philosophy, even everyday life.
So it's not just about dates and battles.
No.
It's about understanding like the soul of a civilization.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's deep.
It is. And take the Magian culture, for example.
Okay.
Yockey argues that its defining idea was this deep-seated belief in a transcendent realm,
Okay.
like a world beyond the material, which manifested in religions like Zoroastrianism
Fine.
and early Christianity.
Gotcha. So how does the West fit into all of this?
Right.
What's our cultural idea?
Well, Yockey argues that the West's unique idea is rooted in this, like, Faustian striving,
Okay.
a relentless pursuit of knowledge, power, and expansion.
Right.
And he traces this back to ancient Greece
Mm-hmm.
and the myth of Prometheus,
Yeah.
who stole fire from the gods,
Right.
symbolizing mankind's daring ambition.
So we're the overachievers,
Kind of, yeah.
the ones always pushing the boundaries,
Yeah.
reaching for the impossible.
In a way, yes. And he believes
Mm-hmm.
that this Faustian spirit is what drove the West to achieve these incredible feats in science, technology, art, exploration.
Right. But it also comes with a dark side, right?
Yes.
This constant striving can lead to conflict,
Uh-huh.
exploitation, even self-destruction.
You're picking up on a crucial tension here.
Okay.
Yockey sees the 20th century as this pivotal moment
Okay.
where the West enters its imperialistic phase,
Mhm.
similar to other high cultures before their decline.
I see.
So this is a natural progression, but also fraught with danger.
So we're at a crossroads.
Precisely.
Is that what he's saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yockey believes the West is grappling with these powerful forces, both internal and external, that threaten its very existence.
Wow.
And he doesn't hold back in his critique of what he calls
Okay.
the exhausted political nostrums of the 19th century.
Here comes the controversy.
Yeah.
So he's taking aim at all the big isms, right?
Yeah.
Liberalism, democracy, communism.
Whole shebang.
You got it.
Wow.
He doesn't see these ideologies as solutions,
Okay.
but as symptoms of a deeper cultural crisis. He criticizes them for being out of touch with the organically vital realities of politics
Okay.
and failing to address the true needs of the West in this critical moment.
Hold on. He even takes on Darwinism,
He does.
Marxism, and Freudianism.
Yeah.
These are some heavy hitters.
They are.
Why does he lump them all together?
He sees them as attempts to animalize Culture Man,
Oh, okay.
reducing him to a mere product of biology, economics, or
Yeah.
some conscious drives.
So he's pushing back against this idea that we're just sophisticated animals.
Yeah, exactly.
He thinks there's something more to being human.
Yeah.
Something that transcends those basic explanations.
Precisely. And he believes that these philosophies, while offering valuable insights, ultimately miss the spiritual dimension, the vital force that drives a high culture. So it's like he's saying, sure, you can explain how the gears turn.
Right.
But what's the engine that's driving this whole machine?
That's a great way to put it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he argues that understanding the unique spirit, the cultural idea, is essential to grasping a civilization's trajectory and ultimate fate.
This is making me reevaluate how I think about history.
Yeah.
It's not just a series of events. But a clash of worldviews.
Yes.
A battle of ideas for dominance.
Yaki would likely agree with you there. He wants you to see history as this grand drama where cultures rise and fall based on their inner strength and their ability to defend their core values.
Okay, so we've got this cyclical view of history, these unique high cultures, and the West at a pivotal moment. Where do we go from here?
Well,
what does Yaki propose as the solution to this cultural crisis?
That's where things get even more interesting.
Oh, boy.
He argues for a concept he calls cultural vitalism, which might be the key to understanding everything else.
All right, intriguing.
Yes.
Let's unpack that in our next segment.
Sounds good.
This deep dive is already getting deep.
It is.
Okay, so we're back and ready to unpack this whole concept of cultural vitalism. It sounds like, something you'd find at a health food store.
Right.
But I have a feeling it's a lot more complex than that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Yaki's cultural vitalism, it's not about green smoothies or yoga retreats. It's about recognizing that cultures, like living beings, they have a life force, an intrinsic energy that drives their actions, determines their destinies.
So we're talking about something deeper than just political systems or economic trends. It's about tapping into a culture's soul.
It's
primal energy.
You got it.
Okay.
Yaki argues that a healthy culture is one that's in tune with its cultural idea. Its deepest values and aspirations.
Right. And when a culture loses touch with that vital force, it becomes susceptible to decay and decline.
To decline,
So it's like a plant withering when it's cut off from its roots.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Okay.
He believes that many of the problems facing the West in his time stem from this disconnect, this forgetting of its true essence.
Right, and this ties back to his critique of 19th century thought, right?
Exactly.
He sees these isms as further draining the vitality of the West.
That's right. He sees ideologies like liberalism, communism, even capitalism as distractions, as artificial constructs that impose a foreign logic onto the organic flow of culture.
So for him, these ideologies are like parasites, feeding off the host, weakening its immune system, making it vulnerable to all sorts of ailments.
That's a very vivid way to put it.
Right.
He argues that these isms ultimately fail to address the real needs of a high culture because they neglect the spiritual dimension, the vital force that gives it meaning and purpose.
Okay, so we've established that Yaki sees cultural vitalism as crucial for understanding the West's current, predicament.
Right.
But where does his idea of the Western Imperium fit into all of this?
Okay, well, for Yaki, the Western Imperium isn't just this political entity. It's the embodiment of this revitalized cultural spirit. It's the culmination of the West's historical journey, a fulfillment of its destiny.
So it's not just about redrawing borders or forming alliances.
That's much deeper than that.
It's about creating a system that reflects and supports this unique essence of Western culture.
You got it.
Okay.
He envisions an imperium that transcends national divisions and embraces this shared cultural heritage. A unity rooted in the West's Faustian spirit and its deep-seated values.
It sounds like a grand vision.
is.
Almost utopian in its scope.
Yeah.
But wasn't he also aware of the immense challenges
He was.
facing such a project?
Yeah.
I mean, he lived through 2 world wars.
It did.
And witnessed firsthand this fragmentation and chaos of Europe.
You're right. He was acutely aware
Okay.
of the forces arrayed against the Imperium, both internal and external.
Okay.
And he dedicates a significant portion of Imperium to analyzing these threats.
Okay, so let's talk about those.
All right.
He uses the term culture distortion.
He does.
To describe some of these threats.
Yes. Culture distortion is key to his framework.
Okay.
He argues that external forces are constantly trying to warp the West from its natural path to undermine its unique character and prevent it from fulfilling its destiny.
Can you give us some concrete examples of what he means by culture distortion?
Well, think about how certain ideas or practices can infiltrate a culture, subtly altering its values and behaviors. Yaki might point to the influence of foreign ideologies, economic systems, or even cultural trends that erode traditional ways of life.
So we're not just talking about like military invasions or political pressure.
It's deeper.
But a more insidious form of influence?
Yes.
That seeks into the fabric of society.
Precisely.
Okay.
Yaki was particularly concerned about what he called culture parasitism.
Okay.
The idea that certain groups within a culture can exploit and weaken it from the inside.
Now, this is where his work gets really controversial.
It does.
Especially his views on certain groups.
Yeah.
Jewish people.
Right. And it's important to acknowledge that this is a deeply problematic aspect of Yaki's work.
Right.
His writings on these topics are offensive and disturbing to many.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
And it's crucial to remember that we're not endorsing these views.
Absolutely not.
But trying to understand them.
Right.
In the context of his broader argument.
Yeah.
And the historical period in which he was writing.
It's crucial to engage with these ideas critically.
Right.
And be aware of their potential for harm.
Absolutely.
So we've got these external forces of culture distortion and internal threats from culture parasites.
Right.
How does Yaki believe the West can overcome these challenges and achieve its imperium?
Right.
Well, he argues for a radical reawakening of the West's cultural spirit, a rejection of the alien ideologies and influences that have weakened it.
Right.
He calls for a return to the core values and traditions that he believes are essential to its survival.
So it sounds like he's advocating for a kind of cultural revolution.
Yeah, that's a strong way to put it.
A purging of the elements that he sees as corrupting and weakening the West.
But I think you're capturing the essence of his argument.
Okay.
Yaki believes that drastic measures are necessary to revitalize the West and set it on the path towards its true destiny.
And what about the practicalities
Yeah.
of establishing this imperium?
Well,
Does he offer any?
He's a bit vague
Right.
on the specifics.
Okay.
He focuses more on the philosophical underpinnings and the cultural prerequisites for the Imperium's emergence.
Right.
He believes that once the West rediscovers its true spirit and overcomes the forces opposing it, that the political and social structures will naturally follow.
So it's more about creating the right conditions, the fertile soil,
That's a good way to put it.
from which the Imperium can grow organically.
That's right. He believes that the Imperium is not something that can be imposed from above, but must arise from this deep and authentic cultural renewal.
This is giving me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
It's a bold and provocative vision.
It is.
Full of historical sweep and philosophical depth.
Yeah.
But it also raises a lot of questions and concerns.
It certainly does. And that's what makes Imperium such a compelling and controversial work.
Right.
It challenges us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world we live in. It forces us to grapple with this complex interplay of culture, power, and identity.
Okay, so we've explored Yaki's concept of cultural vitalism.
We have.
The challenges facing the Western Imperium. And his call for this radical cultural renewal.
Right.
What happened to Yaki after he wrote Imperium?
Okay.
Did he try to put his ideas into action?
Yeah.
And how has his work been received over the years?
Right.
I'm eager to hear more about his life.
Okay.
And the legacy of this complex book.
All right.
Okay, so we're back, and you know what they say, things always get a little more intense in the third act. So let's dive into Yaki's life after Imperium. Did he try to, like, walk the walk, or was this all just armchair theorizing?
Oh, he definitely wasn't just an armchair philosopher. Yaki really dove headfirst into the turbulent waters of post-war European politics.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, he tried to influence events, from behind the scenes, connecting with various groups and figures, people who kind of resonated with his ideas.
So he was like this, I don't know, like a political puppeteer trying to pull the strings and make his vision a reality. What kind of groups was he involved with?
Well, this is where things get a bit murky. And honestly, more than a little disturbing, Yaki became associated with far-right, even neo-fascist movements.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was aligning himself with some pretty unsavory characters.
Okay, so his ideas about cultural renewal in the Western Imperium kind of took a dark turn. It's a reminder that even intellectual ideas can have dangerous consequences in the real world, right?
Absolutely. It highlights the importance of critical thinking, recognizing that even seemingly abstract philosophies can be twisted and used to justify harmful actions.
Right. So what ultimately became of Yaki? Did he achieve any of his political ambitions?
Sadly, no. He faced numerous setbacks, legal troubles, personal struggles, and just this growing disillusionment with the direction of the West, I guess.
Wow.
His life ended tragically in 1960. He died by suicide.
That's a heavy ending. To a life driven by such intellectual passion and political fervor,
Yeah.
makes you wonder about the burdens of carrying such a grand and perhaps ultimately flawed vision, you know?
It's a cautionary tale for sure, but his ideas, they didn't die with him. Imperium continued to circulate,
Yeah.
and has sparked debate and controversy ever since.
It's like a fire that refuses to be extinguished. So, what's the main source of controversy surrounding Imperium? Is it just his involvement with far-right groups, or is there something more to it?
Well, that association definitely tarnished his reputation. But the controversies run deeper. His views on race and culture are particularly problematic for many readers.
Right, we touched on his concept of culture parasitism earlier, and those ideas have been interpreted as promoting a dangerous form of ethno-nationalism.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that while Imperium offers, some insightful historical and cultural analysis, those insights are intertwined with some very troubling perspectives.
Yeah. So it's a book that demands a critical lens, an awareness of its potential biases, and a willingness to grapple with uncomfortable ideas but not endorsing them.
Exactly. It's not a book to be read passively or uncritically. But even with those caveats, Imperium continues to fascinate and influence certain circles, which speaks to its enduring power.
So we've covered Yaki's life, his
Yeah.
ideas, the controversies surrounding his work. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious about one more thing. What is the lasting legacy of Imperium? Where do we see echoes of his ideas today? What should we make of his enduring influence?
Yeah, that's a crucial question to consider. While his work is largely rejected by, mainstream academia, Yaki's ideas have found a niche audience,
Okay.
particularly among those drawn to identitarian politics and a certain brand of cultural conservatism.
So his concept of cultural vitalism, this emphasis on the West's unique character, his warnings about cultural decline, it's resonated with groups who see themselves as defenders of Western
It's
civilization.
against these perceived threats. You've hit the nail on the head. His writings, despite their flaws and, dangerous elements, provide a framework for understanding those anxieties, those fears about cultural change and loss of identity.
Right. It's a reminder that even the most radical or controversial ideas can find fertile ground in certain contexts. And it underscores the importance of engaging with these ideas critically,
Yeah.
understanding their historical roots, being aware of their potential for both good and harm.
I couldn't agree more. Yaki's work serves as this potent reminder that ideas have power. They can shape movements, inspire actions, both positive and negative. It's up to us as critical thinkers to engage with those ideas thoughtfully, to discern their potential consequences.
Well said. I think we've done a pretty thorough job unpacking this complex and challenging book. We've explored Yaki's unique view of history, his controversial ideas about race and culture, and the enduring legacy of Imperium.
Yeah, we've journeyed through some turbulent waters,
Yeah.
but hopefully our listener now has a more nuanced understanding of this controversial figure and the enduring power of his ideas.
And that's what these deep dives are all about. We don't shy away from, difficult subjects or controversial thinkers. We confront them head on, dissect them, and hopefully leave our listeners with more questions than answers.
Because ultimately the goal isn't to tell you what to think, but to equip you with the knowledge and critical thinking skills to form your own conclusions.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Imperium, we encourage you to continue exploring these ideas, to read Yaki's work for yourself with a critical eye, and to consider the broader implications of his thought for understanding our own world.
And remember, the best deep dives don't end when the episode is over. They spark those ongoing conversations, prompt further research, and challenge us to re-examine our own assumptions
About
the world.
Keep diving deep, keep asking questions, and keep those critical thinking caps on. Until next time.